Hi everyone, thank you for listening to us today. In this presentation, we will be exploring how the different types of learning environments, which are the physical, intellectual, and affective, and the way that they impact student learning and success.
It is no surprise that there's a direct correlation between the time teachers invest in creating a safe space and supportive spaces and their students' overall success by as much as 25%, according to our reading. Our goals are to create safe learning spaces, and this can be broken down into three main components. As we stated, there'll be physical space, intellectual space, and affective space.
Hello, my name is Giselle, and I want to talk about physical space. Next slide. Here we talks about the wall space, and I want to talk about the quote and why it's important. And I got it from the book Kids First from Day One. This describes about how in the beginning of school year there will be a little bit of posters, and I want later in the school year filled with 80% of my students' work and 20% of school agenda, school calendars, anything school related. Next slide. Here I want to talk about flexible learning space, about when it comes to group work, I want my students to collaborate with ideas and I want to think about how I want the furnitures and tables be organized, such as you can see the pictures, that are a few are in group works. And I feel like for older grade, for fifth graders, they are more mature enough to learn about the flexible learning space to help them stay focused on what we're doing in class. Here, we're going to talk about quiet or independent work. I feel like this is important for most students because most of my students will work independently. They feel comfortable, or if they want to work with one-on-one with a partner, they feel comfortable with. And Gabby will talk more about this in her slide. And here is Gabby.
Thanks, Giselle. My name is Gabby, and today I will be talking to you about intellectual space. I would have to say that intellectual learning spaces are a pretty critical yet often overlooked component of classroom environments. Intellectual spaces are more than just where the learning happens, they're how it happens. These are the environments that we create to stimulate critical thinking, creativity, curiosity, and even deep engagement. They push students beyond the surface level knowledge and into real inquiry and collaboration. In Kids First from Day One, we can see the emphasis on how learning is more effective if a lesson or experience is deliberately coupled with the time spent thinking about what was just presented. This quote really resonated with me, and the importance of giving students permission and the structure to pause, process, and participate. Creating an intellectual space is not just about giving information. It's about designing moments for students to ask questions, explore different viewpoints, and build their understanding through dialogue. One example that I saw was collaborative study sessions. These don't just help students review material, they create opportunities for peer teaching, critical conversation, and collective meaning making. On to the next slide, I have a couple more examples. I was also thinking about structured classroom discussions like Socratic seminars or think, pair, share activities, which is what I used to do when I was in elementary school in this grade level. These can allow students to process ideas, practice respectful debate, and articulate their thinking in a supportive environment. These are the spaces where student voices matter and where what they think is as important as what they know. Another important intellectual space is a library. Giving students access to a range of resources really helps them go beyond the textbook. It empowers them to explore multiple different perspectives and engage in independent learning. This is especially important for students who may not see themselves reflected in the mainstream curriculum. Libraries can be places where of both validation and discovery. Next, we will be having Emily talk about effective space.
Thank you, Gabby, for the introduction. We're going to continue on to talk about affective space. And when we talk about affective spaces, we're referring to the emotional space, the psychological environment that affects the individuals within our community, feelings, attitudes, and social interactions. And so when we try to create this atmosphere, we want to take into account Maslow's hierarchy of needs. No one can learn if they don't feel safe or feel physiologically safe or mentally safe. And then that goes into making sure that everyone feels valued and seen. And with that high self-esteem comes the ability to learn. So if our students don't feel this way, that's just not going to be possible for them to grow. So in my classroom, for example, and important to note that all of us here have not worked with fifth grade, but we have experience throughout the grade spans. For me, I've worked with fourth graders and a little bit with fifth graders as an ELD teacher. So one thing that I teach at the beginning of the year is a motto that we go over every single day, which is we are humans, we make mistakes, and that's how we learn. So when we create this sense of belonging and community and emotional safety, we have to recognize that it is our responsibility as teachers to aid our students in building social skills that will inform their education and work for the rest of their lives. So that means that we need to come in already prepared and be culturally responsive, be warm demanders, and be respectful, a role model for them. For fifth graders, we do want to recognize that they already have had these conversations in prior years. So a good way to start the year is with open conversation and dialect. And with that comes posters of what we've discussed. And like Giselle said, we want to start our school year with 80-20 or 70-30% of posters. So we want to be on that 20 or 30. Posters that we might include for fifth graders definitely would include equity and equality, maybe about the learning pit and discussing what it means to be stuck and how to get unstuck when learning new materials. Very important for students to be greeted at the door. And for fifth graders, I feel like it falls to the wayside, but it is still super important and part of them feeling valued and seen on the daily. And with that, we've learned from our reading that it helps with the attendance rates. With the schedule, students should in fifth grade have some sort of weigh in for the schedule. If not, have it completely present somewhere on the walls so that they do feel safe and secure and that there is predictability in their day. And like Gabby had said, conversations are a big part of fifth grade, and we do want them to be respectful and be able to have these academic conversations independently. So we want them to learn these talk moves and have maybe prompts and like possible responses to use in these conversations. Also, like Giselle had said, and a little bit touching on to Gabby's point, that our students need to be able to present their work. So after having these intellectual conversations, most of their work should be posted somewhere so that they can refer to it and also just grow from each other's work. With fifth graders, they again come in with the knowledge, and most have had experience in like building expectations. So with fifth graders, we want to build from values to expectations. And with that comes a conversation about what students hold true as core values. And we can let them name as many as they can, but within our class discussion and our group discussions, we want to consolidate them to about 5 to 10 values. This is a treatment agreement poster that I've had a teacher show me. This is not the exact same one, but this is what a fifth grade teacher has showed me has worked for her class. I tried it with my fourth graders and it absolutely did the charm. So with these values, we change them into agreements and decide what they do and do not look like. And we write all of these in positive. So I would disagree with this don't, but we want to write them positively. And my fourth graders have also pitched in by drawing every single one. Each student took one of these and drew an example. So we would focus on one value at a day. Students should also weigh in on what the consequences are. And finally, making a vision and mission board statement also helps. Fifth graders also need a peace corner and reflection sheets. We want to teach them emotional resiliency. So what that means is that we need an expectation and SEL posters, like how to calm down, how to name a feeling. We need to give them a private area of the classroom where they can cool down in their own space at their own rate and time. And reflection sheets should be a big part of the peace corner for fifth graders. And we'll talk about that in a little moment. And seating should be cozy. It should not be another desk and facing a wall. With these reflection sheets, this is a fourth grade, fifth grade level reflection sheet that I have made, and I'd be more than happy to share with anybody interested. But the majority of it will be in writing. They have an option to circle how they feel and a little portion to draw. And with that, we teach our fifth graders how to have restorative conversations. This is something I've taught my third and fourth graders. So I know that fifth graders are able to facilitate these on their own after being trained and doing practice rounds within the first couple of weeks.
Thank you both, Gabby and Emily, for your presentations. In conclusion, for physical space for fifth graders, we need to give them both flexible learning space and quiet or independent workspace. For intellectual space, fostering dialogue and collaboration is key in creating an effective intellectual learning space. Lastly, for effective space, culturally responsive teachers facilitate conversations about expectations, class culture, or vibes, and build emotional resilience by providing a peace corner. Thank you so much for listening and watching our slides. I hope you enjoyed.